out. Welcome to the Harmony Ball Podcast. My name is Derek Wayne, and this is episode 12. 12! We made it all the way to 12, and this actually concludes season 1 of the Harmony Ball Podcast. Thank you so much to everyone who is listening to it. I really appreciate it. On today's episode, we have Mr. William Lagos. My friend Will, we've been singing in Westminster for so many years, and I just love chatting with Will. He's such a good friend and so conversant about theater and all things artistical. And I can't say how much I enjoy talking philosophically and specifically about technique with this gentleman. This episode of the Harmony Ball Podcast is brought to you by the 2021 Convention of Barbershop Harmony in New Zealand. Barbershop Harmony New Zealand invites you to a great weekend of fun, fellowship, and fantastic contests with friends. Friday the 24th through Sunday the 26th September 2021 in Palmerston North, New Zealand. And by Public Assembly Theater Company, Los Angeles, presenting original performance pieces that center around a crowdsourced theme. Find tickets and how to get involved at publicassembly.us. My guest on this episode is Will Lagos. Back in 2010, Will and I both hit the international stage as singers in the Westminster Chorus for the very first time. Yeah! Our conversation is so rad. Will and I speak about the confidence that he has in the next generation of the barbershop contest and judging community. And we segue into stories about Westminster Chorus's tours of New Zealand. And then we get into some philosophical discussion of the value of cultural exchange. It's so rad. After that, we talk about Will's recent journey to becoming a teacher and talk details about his musical theater history curriculum for 10th graders. And it's all super cool, interesting, awesome stuff, and it's really easy, and it's really not going to be that long of a quiz. It's going to be 20 questions, true or false, and then it's lunchtime. Yes! Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Will Lagos, welcome to the Harmony Ball Podcast.
Hi, Derek Wayne.
Hi.
I'm very excited to talk to you today.
Yes. Oh, dude. Can I just say these podcasts have been so fun to make, and it's been so good to reconnect with people over the phone, basically. Just have a long phone call.
Yeah, and they've been so fun to listen to as well. I've been loving who you've been talking to and who you've been getting to open up on the program. I'm a big fan, Derek.
Oh, thank you. It's so cool to chat with these people because barbershop has so many nerdy, wonderful music educators and artists, and gosh, I can see easily hitting 100 episodes because there's just so many cool people in the Barbershop Harmony Society world.
Yeah, there's so many to talk to, and I'm sure this, as you are in society for longer and longer, you begin to see these waves of patterns happening. But I think there are a good amount of people who are sort of in our generation, sort of the mid to elder millennial generation, who are starting to step up and become real barbershop personalities with real defined artistic sense and real defined educational sense. And so it's cool to listen to what they have to say about singing and music and performance and the future of what we're doing. And it's been an elucidating experience listening to your podcast.
Dude, right on. That is such a good theme. Whenever I think about this subject, I always think about I think it's called the Fly on the Wall sessions from Let It Be, the Beatles record.
Okay.
And there's this section when they're talking about, this is the Let It Be era of the Beatles, so the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about, I think it's either Paul McCartney or John Lennon, they're at a table. You can't see them, it's just a recording. They were recording in Abbey Road, and they were having a conversation in between takes just about the future of the band. And I think it's Paul McCartney. I think he's this is the situation we're in right now. Daddy's gone away, and now it's time for us to move on with our lives. And just like you're describing, this is a time when the millennial generation barbershoppers are sort of moving into positions of leadership in the society, and it's a scary and exciting thing.
Yeah, yeah. We are. I think we are seeing the generational shift happening. And yeah, you are right. It is both exciting and scary because that's kind of that it's not kind of that is the nature of how things change. That stuff comes and it's weird and new and unfamiliar. But I have a lot of confidence in the folks who are stepping up to the plate.
Yeah, man, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, brother.
What inspires that confidence, may I ask?
You mean what inspires my confidence in the people stepping up to the plate?
Yeah.
Um, I'm learning from them. This is going to. Okay, how do I phrase this in a way that doesn't make me feel or doesn't make me sound self-important? That's the big question.
No, it's okay. You can be self-important. You're the guest on the show. This is the Will Logos episode. So be self-important.
Well, I know. Okay, so I guess what I'll say is, I've been singing since I was a wee lad, and I've had a lot of training as a singer as a young man, and I just know a lot of sort of aggregate knowledge about singing and the voice and vocal ped and through osmosis of all these people that I've learned from through the years, either in private vocal studio or while I was at university in a arts program. So I've known a lot of stuff. I know a lot of stuff, and I love teaching what I know. And
you're like a famous child actor. You did that movie that was like.
I am definitely not a famous child actor.
In my mind, you're a famous child actor because I'm a really bad Californian and I don't know about celebrities or like important world events very much. But you're my famous child actor friend in my mind.
Thanks, Derek. So it's incredible being around these young people and having humbling experiences being availed to what they know and to their knowledge. And being shown that even though I think I know a lot, and even though I have learned a lot over the years, I'm still learning. I'm still inheriting knowledge, not only from my elders and the people who have much more experience than I, but also my peers and contemporaries. I'm learning from them as well. And we are sharing knowledge. And the other part of that is we're sharing knowledge and we're challenging each other in a way that's healthy and in a way that builds skill, in a way that builds confidence, because we really want to see each other grow. And we really want to see each other become more well-rounded artistic people. And I think if you're around that type of energy, you can't help but be inspired by it. So that's why I have so much confidence in these people my age stepping up to the plate.
Dude, I dig the learning trip for sure. And who could ask for anything more as an artist than to be in a world of your peers and learn from them?
You can't ask anything more. I mean,
that's what we want, right?
That's what we want. And it's just how we have this talk in Westminster all the time that pursuing perfection in art is a futile exercise. Whatever you create in the artistic realm, chances are it's probably not going to be perfect.
Nonsense. My precious will be perfect.
Yes. Yeah, that's an exercise in futility when you're engaging in an artistic process. So
perfection's overrated. It's the enemy of the good.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. The perfect is the enemy of the good. And oh man, I forgot my original point because I got really wrapped up in that cool thought that I was having. Thoughts and how it relates to the original point. But this is what happens to me this is my beehive of a brain when I start thinking about cool artistic stuff. I kind of bounce around from idea to idea.
Let's reminisce for our listeners how cool Westminster is, because I know they're fans of the chorus. There's a lot of people who like the Westminster chorus, and Just quickly, I'll say that our trips internationally as a chorus have
Uh-huh.
been absolutely fantastic. I didn't get to go to the New Zealand trips, but you did.
You didn't go to either New Zealand trip?
No, I was touring on ships at
You
both
were
those
on.
opportunities, and I really. Can you tell me some stories from your New Zealand trip?
Oh man, there's so okay. Those New Zealand trips have a lot of really meaningful memories, not just because.
And a famous video where you're like introducing the chorus, and that looks
Yeah,
so
that is
cool.
true. That is
I'm
true.
gonna link that in the show notes.
There is like there are some people who call me like the voice of Westminster because I've been doing all of our like show in like song intros and stuff for so many years now. And I think that video is sort of like the beginning of that legacy of mine. Um, I mean, those New Zealand tours are incredible because not only were we making really great music, um, but to we were exposed intimately to powerful indigenous Maori culture on both of those trips. Um, I can remember the first time we went, which I think was in 2014. Does that sound right?
I think so.
I think so. We were there. We were going there for the Pan Pac convention, which is always cool. The Pan Pac convention that happens in sort of like the New Zealand, Australia area are great little singing conventions. They're not little; they're quite big. They're great big singing
And when
conventions.
you say Pan Pac, you mean the Pan Pacific
Yes, correct.
Convention.
The Pan
Okay.
Pacific. Um, so we were going for that convention because I don't know if we got invited or if we asked if we could go, and they said yes. Um, at the time, Matt Gifford was helping with some of the logistics of getting over there. And one of
Matt Gifford. I still like that guy. I always think of him saying to me, "If you want to eat harmony, brother."
our chorus has some really special memories with Matthew Gifford, and I hope he's doing well wherever he is, and I hope he's flourishing whatever he's doing. He will be our brother forever. But one of the great things he did for us was we went we spent the night at a marae, which is like the sacred Maori village grounds, the sacred longhouses that exist in and around the country of New Zealand.
What's it called again?
It's called a marae.
A marae.
Yeah, I believe. I could be butchering
That's that
this.
house thing? The like where you like
Yeah, it's
big lodge camp sort of
yeah,
thing?
it's the longhouse. It's like the tribal longhouse. But the maraes are also the sites where like Maori children have schooling and learn about their culture, and learn how to speak Maori and
Wow.
learn the haka. Like it's
Oh. So
yeah,
it's like
it's like
ultimate summer camp.
yeah, man. It's the living lineage of the indigenous people of New Zealand, which
Oh.
which was just really cool to be availed to because in the states we have these Indian reservations or these Native American reservations, but we have a really dark history with the indigenous people of this country, and the Maori people also have a dark history with colonial powers in New Zealand, and they those forces, that culture has created a place for itself inside of the greater New Zealand culture, like um, for example, like dignitaries in New Zealand. We heard a couple people speak, and they began their public speeches with something in the Maori language, which to me is really inspiring. And you sort of believe that there should be an amount of that reverence for indigenous culture, in every sort of imperialistic society. But I'm getting anthropological about all this. Now I want to talk about when we were at the marae. So the maraes, it's these sort of communal Maori lands where their culture is kept alive, and they're not really like touristy destinations. At least that's what we're sort of led to believe They are really kind of kept special for people of the Maori lineage. And we were invited onto Marais on both the trips in 2014 and the second one, which I think was 2018 or maybe 2017, around there. It would have been 2017.
I'm not good with dates like that either, but there was a very specific magic to this marae. And
Yeah,
if I understand you correctly, you're saying that anthropologically, the societies are paying attention to those cultural relevances and protecting them from tourism, which is beautiful.
Yeah. They're sort of it feels like they're given a garden to flourish, so that the cultures won't die from neglect. I have to preface all this by saying I have a very specific point of view on this as a white American man and a visitor to these places. So I'm sure if you asked an indigenous Maori New Zealander, they might have a different point of view. But to me, it was beautiful. And it really did feel like a cultural exchange. I mean, we spent time on these lands, and Matt Gifford is speaking in like the poetic High Maori language to the elders there, who very little English is kind of spoken during the introductions between our ensemble and like the people who live on the marae. And then we sang songs and barbershop harmony for them as a cultural exchange. And then, once we switched into speaking English with each other, the sense of hospitality that existed between them and us is unrivaled in my experience anywhere on earth. I mean, we felt like part of the family. And I will always remember walking down the line, meeting, the leaders and the elders of the marae, and passing the breath of life when we press our noses against each other and shake hands and inhale at the same time, and feeling like you are connecting to a millennia of culture and a millennia of people. And then, they perform haka for us, and we sat down for a feast in a dining hall where they had brought in the bounty of the sea, and we were eating oysters and scallops and abalone stew, and they had buried like pork butt in these earthenware fires that they had buried underground and wrapped in banana leaves and had brought out, and they were playing guitar and singing hymns, and then after dinner we were on the beach and drinking beers out of long neck bottles and teaching them 4-part barbershop consonant harmony, which a lot of them had never heard before and were interested in trying, because the Maori culture is so alive in song and music, that I think we found some commonalities there between us. And it's so interesting how we came from such a faraway place and from a culture so far removed from what the Maori culture is, that we were able to find commonalities so quickly. That kind of, once you strip away the trappings of modernism, and you begin to get down to the core of what connects us humanely and the traditions around that stretch back between humans for thousands and thousands of years, that's when the big lesson from that is that separation is an illusion. And we're all just humans trying to figure stuff out and feel comfortable with where we are and keep our cultures alive. And in the way we were both doing it, it survives in an oral tradition of music. So that was a very long...
What a beautiful illustration of the cultural exchange. Thank you so much. It was gorgeous to listen to you say that.
It was incredible. I want to go back. And both times we went.
You have to tell our listeners what the haka is, because some of them might not know.
Oh, that's true. Oh man, how do you explain the haka? I don't know
Well,
if
it's
I
kind of
can
like a
explain
dance,
it.
right? That'd be
It
like the
is
first way to say it.
it is a combination dance and like chant. Like there's a chant leader who says something and then the rest of the group responds while doing a dance. And I'm going to say something that may be incorrect, but part of the haka survives as like an intimidation tactic, like but one that is rooted in honor. Like I don't know if you've ever seen the All Blacks play rugby in New Zealand. Um, but the All Blacks are famous for starting all their matches with a haka. So you can find those videos floating around on YouTube. Um, and you really have to watch it. I will remember, I will always remember when Musical Island Boys won the gold medal and people from their chapter, people from Vocal Effects, they won and they all stood up and just did a haka right there in the arena. And my jaw was on the floor. I was like, you cannot connect more. You know what I mean? So it was like their DNA was talking to each other. Like the haka exists not only as like a communicative form of tribal dance and oral tradition and music, but it's like it's the secret handshake that I will never know and will always be in awe of. It's incredible. People who are listening in YouTube land, I invite you to utilize that search box and search for the All Blacks doing a haka before a game. And
We'll link that up into the show notes.
Yeah, put that in the show notes. I
Yeah.
love that. So yeah,
Dude, New Zealand trips. So I'm so jealous of those trips. And you went on the second New Zealand trip as well?
I did go on a second New Zealand trip, which was we performed so much on that trip. We stayed at a marae at that one as well, which was also an incredible experience. I remember there was a lot of dancing, and the place where we were eating, there were like these murals on the walls that told a very specific story of like sort of Maori creation myths and stuff like that, and having those village leadership and elders walk us through what all that means, both concretely and abstractly. It was incredible. That second trip, we sang. I mean, we were there for a week and a half, maybe longer, and I think we had a show every day. Maybe there was one day where we didn't have a show, but like 90% of the time we spent in New Zealand on that second trip, we were singing for people or getting ready to sing for people.
The Westminster Chorus culturally exchanged its face off.
Yeah. Yes, that is the exact correct way to describe what happened. We culturally exchanged so hard.
Nice.
It was great. I really want to go back there. And I mean, once you go to New Zealand, I feel like I'm droning on and on about it a little bit, but once you go there and you experience, the beauty of that place, I am enchanted by it in a meaningful way.
We're allowed to drone on because this is long form podcasting, and these cultural exchanges should really be spotlighted as one of the most amazing reasons to be part of a high reaching, high achieving community choir like the Westminster Chorus. Because it's not just Westminster that does these culture exchanges. There's thousands of ensembles across the United States and in the world that do this thing.
Yeah,
this is just our thing that we did.
This is just our thing, and a lot of that, is for us is kind of being at the right place at the right time. Like, we knew that we know these guys, Musical Island Boys, and we're friends with that quartet, and they're the folks that are able to get us to shake the right hands and fill out the right paperwork and make stuff happen, and commit to this exchange of art between these two cultures. And yeah, it is a bonus. It's so weird. It's a weird thing thinking about having that opportunity and Westminster being a volunteer chorus organization. Like we all paid money to go on that trip. It was out of pocket expense. Most of our stays were home stays, and I think during the PanPAC convention, NZABS I think paid for our hotel rooms or something like that during the convention. But we made that trip happen. That was a thing that man for man couldn't have happened without individual buying. So, I guess it's a good example that you don't have to have like a crazy, money laden infrastructure to be able to do things like that with your volunteer community chorus. Like, we're a bunch of young men who put our heads together and figured out a way to get it done. And it does kind of feel like, if we can do it, anybody can do it. That's what I think.
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And it's worth it. It's worth it to go and meet people and sing songs and be available to music. Like, no matter what your, I was going to say mastery level, but that's a misnomer. No matter how comfortable you are with the process of making good music, that shouldn't stop you from, or rather give yourself permission to not let that be an obstacle towards being in a position where you can share culture with another people.
Well, now we're getting into the sort of like inspirational teacher part of Will's character. Because that's something that you've experienced a lot of lately, growing your ability to be a teacher. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Because you did the online teaching thing, right? You were like...
I did the online teaching thing, man, which was kind of wild. So
wild.
So there's an interesting story here, because you understand when I say this, because you are this as well, but we're both career creatives, right?
Yeah, like 100%. I have to have a problem to solve, something interesting to investigate, inspiration has to play into it, or I'm going to tune out.
Yeah, exactly correct. It's part of the whole thing. And so, when the world kind of started going down the tubes a little bit, like, there was a point where I can remember, like, I'm going to have to pivot, because there's no, like, I'll speak of this from the point of view of my experience, but, in Los Angeles, all the studios were closed. So there were no acting gigs in the studios. There were no acting gigs in the theaters, because all the theaters were closed. And, up until that point, not only was I active in Westminster every week, but I was running a theater company in Los Angeles that was producing new plays every month and writing new plays every month. So I always kind of had my hands in the artistic, many fingers and many artistic soups, you might say.
You should plug your theater company.
The Public Assembly is my company.
I saw some of those shows. They were cool.
Yeah, they were cool, man. We rep brand new repertory theater every month that we did for free admission. Just to sort of, I will plug this, because it was kind of a grand experiment that actually worked, because we're a bunch of young acting professionals, acting, writing, and director professionals living in Los Angeles. And by young, I mean we're sort of all between the ages of 27 and 40, that key demographic, as they say. And we just wanted a place to work out our art. So we said, what we're going to do? We're going to rent out a theater space every month, a non-conventional theater space. So we were doing plays like in American Legions and VA institutions and city parks and warehouses and stuff like that. So we said it was going to be a floating theater space, and we would ideate, write, direct, and mount new plays in 30 days. So kind of the way that the experiment was set up was each month would have a theme. And the first couple days, people would submit script ideas, and then the artistic directors would choose a couple to then workshop for the remainder of the month. And then the last Thursday of that month, we would have a show and do what we did. And then we would stand up in front of the audience, and we would ask the audience to give us a theme for the following month's program. and then start all over again. So we never knew what was coming down the pipeline. It was just people in the audience, what they wanted to see, we would give them.
Plus, from a running the circus sort of a standpoint, this gives them very strong buy-in, promises made, promises kept sort of deal.
Huge. And we had people who were coming every month for years. People coming every month for years to see these plays. So anyway,
and that dovetails into you writing Westminster Saves Christmas too.
It does. I'm going to get to that point a little bit later, but
okay, tell me some more theater stuff.
Yeah, just because I'm trying to keep the thread straight in my brain, because we were talking about me becoming an educator. So,
that's right. Sorry, I go back to that for sure.
All good. So public assembly kind of fizzled out because we just couldn't do shows anymore, because we couldn't have 150 young people in one small space watching theater at a time. That was not feasible. And I wasn't working in front of the camera because the studios were closed. And I was looking around going, oh, wow, I need to figure out something. Not just because, I live in America where I need money coming in. But I just need something artistic to utilize all of this emotional infrastructure that I have in me. As an emotional person. So there's a school, the California School of the Arts in San Gabriel Valley, which is a charter arts high school, where I happened to know somebody on staff and just asked, hey, are you looking for teachers? I don't know what your school year is going to look like. And they said, you know what, just submit your resume and a cover letter. And if I do say so myself, I wrote an exceptional cover letter, and got an interview with the chair of the theater department. And my interview with the chair lasted 90 minutes, I think, 90 minutes, 2 hours, somewhere in there. And we were just talking about theater and drama and teaching theater and coaching young actors. And he offered me a job in the musical theater department. So I've been teaching musical theater repertory and technique to high school juniors. And they actually just gave me a new class that I'll be teaching in the upcoming fall semester. I'll be teaching history of musical theater. So that's also fun.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, Derek.
Dude.
Yeah, it's the first time they're ever offering that class, so I get to build up that class.
Heck yes.
Yeah, and I'm teaching it to the entire 10th grade. And that's super in my wheelhouse, because I'm a big fan of understanding why art is happening at this time based on what's going on culturally. You know what I mean? Like what's happening in the zeitgeist. I find that stuff to be really interesting. So it's great to teach that. And this is the first, I've coached young actors for a long time. And I've been coaching barbershoppers in performance and acting for, 5 or 6 years now.
Including my quartet, thank you very much.
Including the Summertimers. We had some good sessions together, some quotables from that session. But this is the first time I've ever had a job on faculty in a school. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which is kind of a different beast. And
well, before you start complaining about administration, because we can all do that, let's just talk about how cool your history of musical theater class is going to be. That is so exciting. You get to write the course for that.
Yeah.
Heck yes.
It's going to be pretty cool. I mean, the semester isn't going to start for me until September, and it's June right now. Today's June 15th. So I've got a lot of time, but
California reopening day, the lower face reveal party.
Oh, yeah, a lot of feelings about that. A lot of feelings of excitement and a little nervousness, and just wondering what I'm going to do now that I don't have to wear my face mask around everywhere. And luckily, I got both my shots, so I'm feeling good, baby. The history of musical theater. I already have an idea about it because I'm a big proponent and a big believer that if you want to make art that is meaningful and original and not derivative or not just like a product of your ego, it behooves the artistic person to have a functioning knowledge of what has come before them and how they got to where they are. So, I taught sort of a truncated version of musical theater history over the internet this past semester. But we're going to start at Italian opera and English light opera and operetta, and move through vaudeville, where we will undoubtedly talk about barbershop harmony.
Woo!
Woo! Because vaudeville was a big influence on Rodgers and Hammerstein. Is that right? Oscars and Hammerstein. I'm having a brain fart because I'm talking too much.
How about this?
Yeah.
Historical context of music.
Yeah.
Historical context that informs the productions of musical theater. And this is a subject that can be broadly expressed, but specific to producing high risk productions. I find that, how do I say this? Why you were talking about how you're really excited about the historical context of your class. The showman in me always thinks about how much financial risk a production that's making a statement about society and the historical context that it's in that time, just how incredibly courageous that is.
It's super courageous. And I mean, the big show that stands out to me, I'll say this because I think it's important. It links into what you're talking about. So when I taught the class over online this semester, we had a unit on musical theater in the 1980s, and why musical theater in the 70s and 80s was a big turning point, because you have people in the leadership of this country who utilizes the market to give a lot of people, specifically like bankers and people who engage in stocks, a lot of money in New York City.
The finance industry and
the finance industry in the 80s, baby.
Which is crazy because in New York, the people in the front row of the orchestra seats are those people.
They are those people. And that's why you have people making musicals like Andrew Lloyd Webber, who comes up to these people and says, look, I want to create theater of opulence. And really, you do not get theater of opulence until you get like Reaganomics, where a lot of people at the top, not a lot of people, a few people at the top are making a lot of money and want to spend that money on opulent stuff, including some of his work. And then sort of the switch around what you're talking about, this like moment where you're seeing a reflection of society that is maybe different and sort of delineates a switch from opulence of musical theater to what I qualify as being new musical theater, is a play like Rent, which is not very opulent. It's sort of like a yeoman's show with incredible music based on an opera several hundred years old, and deals with the maligned homosexual community in New York and the disease that was killing them and nobody was really talking about, at least in a leadership level. So it's interesting to see that thing happen as we move into the 1990s, and musical theater then starts to change. And you get these like Jason Robert Brown musicals that are only two people, or you get stuff like The Wild Party, which only has like 6 major characters in it. Like you begin to move from these really opulent ensemble driven stories into these more focused on people living individual realities that might differ from the programmed ones that are around them. So it's
That sounds like a great class. These juniors are going to be amazed.
Yeah, it's that type of stuff that really gets my motor running, because then you're just aware to what's happening around you. And as an artistic person, you need to have that type of peripheral vision so that your art can reflect not only what's happening in you, but what's happening with humans on the planet. I think that stuff is really important.
100%, because that's why we have art, so we can tell those bankers that enough is enough.
That enough is enough, man. Yeah, I agree.
We can't finance our way out of everything.
If only we could, Derek. If only we could. I'm trying to talk about this without making my
grandiose political statements.
Yes, I'm trying to be as equitable as possible.
But you should be equitable, because that is also a skill. And if we want to rise through the ranks of working with our peers, we must, of course, be diplomatic. So
absolutely, and we're
much
always
appreciated, sir.
We're always going to have our differences, and everyone's going to think about stuff differently. But I'm trying to leave as much room as I can without waving my flag too hard, as they say.
Nice, appreciated.
Yeah, Derek, you got it, bud, and you got it at home. Everybody listening to this.
Exactly. Yeah, we want to make a safe space for communicating ideas.
Yes, we do. I agree. A safe space for communicating ideas is important, and it requires a lot of self-knowledge and self-regulation. So that's
why we have to spend so much time as artists doing nothing and not making money, so we can do this self-reflection and be respectful.
Yeah, so we can hold up the spyglass into our own experience and be able to dissect all of the feelings that we have. That is an important part of being an artistic person, Derek. You know that. Yeah,
man. Looking inward. I don't do enough of that, even though I try to as much as I can, because it's so powerful.
Looking inward is powerful, and the process of looking inward is also confronting yourself and confronting your past and all the decisions that you made in your life that brought you to this exact moment in time.
Easier for me because I'm not a Virgo.
Listen, man, I'm a Scorpio, so I'm just lost in the roiling sea of emotions every day. But yeah, self-reflection as an artist.
You're in the roiling sea of emotions?
Oh yeah, man.
Well, I'm a Gemini. We don't know which side we're supposed to be when we get up in the morning. It's quite confusing.
Yeah, I'm a Scorpio in my little Scorpio den that's just snipping my claws, making sure you don't come in here. My emotional life is my own, and you can't know about it.
Forrest knows about it, though.
My cat, Forrest.
I love how you yell at your cat. It's beautiful. You got a cool cat.
He is cool. He is currently asleep on the couch right now because he knows I'm on a very important interview. Oh. But yeah, introspection in art is important and difficult because you have to confront the pieces of yourself that you might not like very much. And you have to create space to be understanding and loving to those parts of yourselves. And then you have to engage in what is essentially a healing modality to integrate that stuff, because once that happens, stuff begins to open up in you.
Oh my God, you're so right, Will. If I could just choose one different word in that phrase, I would choose get rather than have. You get to make the space for yourself. Like, listeners, when you go to Anthropologie and you find a really cute dress or like cool necklace, or maybe you like different stuff like race cars or something, you find a really awesome like new engine part or something. I don't speak sports car, but like you get to go like find those consumable things. Imagine just maybe spending some time with yourself and imagining inside of you the safe space that you can introspect in, because it can be a getting experience and a pleasurable one, and an opportunity and a privilege, and not something that you have to do, but that you get to do.
Yeah, that you get to do. I think you're right. And, that's just, the difference between have to do and get to do is a subtle but important shift of attention. That's all it is. You have the pleasure of getting to discover those things about yourself. And then you get the pleasure of evolving through those things if you don't like them. And then the really The really challenging part, if you really want to go full bore on the artist thing, is then taking those parts of yourselves and lovingly and generously sharing those parts of yourself with strangers.
Oh my God, scary, scary, scary.
It
Oh
is very
boy.
scary. That's super scary. But if you do it with love and generosity, then A, you're protecting yourself, which is a really important piece of the puzzle. And B, you are allowing the audience to see reflections of themselves in what you are showing them. And that is what provides the cathartic experience. And that's when art becomes like a healing modality. You know, I think that's part of the reason why, to go back to what I was talking about before, I think it's part of the reason why Rent has had legs for so long, even though on its face, it's not that good of a show. In my opinion, I know it's a hot take, but it's not that great of a program. But there are opportunities that the actor and the singer gets to participate in where they can show that part of themselves, and that type of magic that occurs on the stage is powerful and transformative because it gives permission to everybody watching to see themselves in it. And that is a healing practice. That's like the divine purpose of art. I think about that a lot, the divine purpose of art, and I think that's it.
The healing practice.
The healing
The healing modality of art and theater.
Art and by extension, barbershop as a healing modality. We've all been availed to those performances of barbershop as a healing modality. I often think of Double Date's performance of, If You Love Me, Really Love Me, that song. And the reason why you watch that and that video has legs is because you're watching people not only truly in love with each other, but really and honestly in the moment utilizing that song to express those feelings. And there's a part of you that watches that happening unabashedly in front of you and goes, wow, I know what that feels like. Or, man, I wish I knew what that feels like. And I hope I have that in the future. Or I know what that felt like when I did have it. And I'm so grateful for that feeling. That performance is a sample of, in my opinion, barbershop as healing modality. Because it's pure. There's nothing in between those four people and what the song is about. There's not a lot of them in between it. It's just they're interacting with that message in the song in real time. And that permits an audience member to have complete freedom of experience. So
that is so wonderful. You've described the value of that virtue so eloquently, sir. And I guess the question that has to follow that is, how do you teach people to do that?
It's hard. It's really hard to teach people how to do that because the first part of learning how to do that is becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that only comes with practice. Like there is an amount. How do I phrase this in a way that's constructive? So we all have egos, right?
I know I do, especially when I'm on stage in a suit.
Yeah. We all have egos, and we have built those ego personalities. I have the ego that is Will. I present myself, as the ultimate host and a magnanimous person, and someone who's friendly, and all this stuff is true, but it's also part of something that I've built. And when we're on stage, we can utilize the ego on stage to create a barrier between ourselves and the audience, which keeps the performer safe. But it also comes off to the audience as like an amount of fakeness or not or the quality of not being genuine. And that seems to pop up because the artist doesn't want to feel uncomfortable while they perform. They want to feel safe, which you can't really fault them for, because feeling safe is awesome. feeling safe is a great feeling, and it's not one that we are allotted very often, especially as, like, for example, younger people living in America. It's tough to feel safe 100% of the time. So of course you want to feel safe when you're engaging with artistic process.
Safety is awesome, 100%. Feels great. I want to feel safe. I would choose it, but to grow as a performer, I need to learn to feel comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're being comfortable, feeling unsafe.
Unsafe.
And so part of the process of getting to that point is just doing weird stuff. You know what I mean? It's like rolling around on the floor and making weird noises and shaking your body and making weird choices in the rehearsal space that don't work. And also robbing yourself of specific musical and physical vocabulary that you might utilize to portray a certain feeling. Like disabling those things. Like we all have habitual things that we do as artistic people. That's part of the process. And, stripping those things away and forcing the performer to try something new or try something different, or to not do anything at all. Sometimes that's the hit. Don't do anything. Just see if you can be on a stage. That's kind of the acid test for the performer. Don't do anything. Just be there. What does that feel like? Do you enjoy the feeling of being sort of like emotionally naked and egoless in front of a bunch of people who want to be entertained? Can you conquer the fear of wasting someone's time?
That's an interesting way to phrase that. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah, I had a good friend who phrased it that way, and that was an illuminating thing for me. The fear of wasting someone's time, the fear that you have as a performer, is what I am enough for you?
Ooh.
And that's a difficult question to ask. And the closer you get to answering that question is the closer you get to just not caring. Just not caring whether you're wasting someone's time. Knowing you're enough.
Wow.
Not being afraid, because you exist as a complete person. And so, part of getting to that place, it's a version of therapy is what it is. I think
the healing modality
healing modality. There it is again. Because if you want, and I have to say all of this while also making space for the other thing to be true. Not all of barbershop or not all art has to be healing modality. You know what I mean? Like, you can make people laugh, or you can make yourself laugh, or you can make something that isn't super serious. You can create something that exists outside all of that, and it's totally valid and important to the discourse of art, because not everything can be this like gripping thing. It's just that for me, as an artistic practitioner, I find that stuff to be the most interesting. And that's what kind of.
Do you think you find it the most interesting because it's the most challenging thing you can do on stage, or just because you're really wired for that type of artistic pleasure?
I think both are true. It's what gets me hot. I'm wired for it, and it's sort of a chasing the dragon type situation. Because do you ever really get there? I don't know. I don't know if it's possible to really get to a point where you can be on stage and really not care if you're wasting someone's time. Part of the
I can. I saw Dave Chappelle do it.
yeah, Dave Chappelle got pretty close. Dave Chappelle got pretty close. There are actors who get very close. Philip Seymour Hoffman, before he died, got really close.
Wow, what an actor!
Yeah, he was a really incredible actor. And he got to that place where he was unafraid to waste your time. He was just like, here are my ideas as a performer. I hope you like them.
I do.
Yeah, yeah, totally. In the musical theater space, Bernadette Peters is like that. She gets up there and she is unafraid to waste your time. And she doesn't. What she does is incredible. And these are all people.
So interesting how those are inversely correlated.
And these are all people who practice and practice and practice and practice and practice. You know what I mean? They're always doing it. So it becomes, and now we're talking about where two different disciplines meet. It becomes the meeting point of art as a healing modality, where you're creating space for your audience to have a really, truly meaningful experience, and combining that with acting and art being the plowman's work, where you're just doing it all the time and you can craft a performance. You know how to pitch your voice a certain way. You know how to, sorry, I had a stuck burp, Derek. You know how to pitch your voice in a certain way. You know how to hold your body in a certain way to elicit a feeling out of somebody. So once you begin to marry the crafting of the performance, which is truly the blue collar approach to acting and art, with the divine portion of it, that's the true magic stuff. That's what wins people awards most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. That's what wins people's awards. And those are the performances that you watched that changed your life. Those are performances that you enjoyed as an audience member that changed your life.
Succinct. Dig it. I buy it 100%.
I will always remember seeing August Osage County on Broadway. A show on Broadway called August Osage County. Are you familiar with this play?
I am not.
They made it into a movie with Meryl Streep and Julia Roberts and a bunch of other people. But the movie is fine. But I saw this play, and it's basically about a family unit dissolving after the death of the family patriarch. That's sort of the log line for the script, I guess. The patriarch of the family dies, and all these people go to, I think, rural Oklahoma. I think, that could be wrong. But someplace like that, rural America to...
Sounds like a classic trope.
Yeah, it's very American theater. It's super American theater. And it was done
like a Tennessee Williams version of this trope?
What's that?
Is there like a Tennessee Williams version of this trope? The matriarch dies and the family has to come back?
I mean, yeah, it's very Arthur Miller in that way. Those great American playwrights, Tennessee Williams, Arthur Miller, Sam Shepard, they all kind of live. Tracy Letts is the writer of this particular play. And they all sort of live in that great American theater tradition of dealing with borderline melodramatic subject matter, but it's really rooted in Americana in the culture.
We're Americans. We like our melodrama.
Yeah, it's
especially
true.
Especially when it gets out into the country.
Hell yeah, we like it big and loud, brother. And it was produced by this theater company out of Chicago called Steppenwolf, which has created many fine actors in its time. I don't know if you know the actor Gary Sinise, who is famous for playing Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump, among other things. But in this play on Broadway was an actress, Amy Morton, who originated the role of Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was premiered by Steppenwolf, in fact, and a bunch of other really great Broadway actors in this play. But I will remember seeing that. And how old was I at the time? I was in college. I was maybe 20 years old, and I was watching these actors do this play. And I remember sitting there and thinking, I didn't know theater could be like this. And I had seen a good amount of theater, and I had done a lot of theater up until that point, and I was studying theater in school. And, you know, everything about that play, all the performances were exceptionally well crafted. There was blue collar work being done on the stage. And there was zero ego, which is required when you're doing sort of that big American theater drama. And it was the marrying of those two disciplines where I could completely give myself to what was happening on the stage. The verisimilitude, or the buy-in of the audience member was so high that I forgot I was watching a play, and I felt like I was looking at a wormhole into an alternate reality where all the stuff was really happening.
You really dug this play, man.
Oh, dude, this play changed my life.
Do you see it on Broadway?
Yeah, I saw it on Broadway.
Okay.
With the original cast, and watching that play changed my life, and changed the way I related to being an actor, because it was everything. There's a scene where the eldest daughter of the patriarch, who is desperately trying to not become her mother in the play, which is also just a thing that, like, if you're in a family, like, you know what that feeling is. I've seen my mother go through the same struggles. So this character that's trying not to become her mother in the play, she's having an argument with her husband, and it comes out during the course of the play that the husband is a teacher and had previously had like affairs with his students, and so the relationship is on the rocks. And it's very humanizing to watch this man be like, I am trying to fight these feelings. It was because I'm a male watching this, but trying to fight these feelings of, like, needing to escape and also wanting to keep things working. And I remember, I think the actor was, I can't remember his name, a great theater actor, but he had this line that was like, I don't know why this sticks out to me, but he looks at his wife and he says, I love you, but you're a pain in the ass. And that line, I think it was a combination of, like, being in a fight with a significant other and seeing something like that. And I had always wanted to say that to people in my life, but I never felt like I could. And hearing someone say, I love you, but you're a pain in the ass, and meaning it 100,000%, and then ending their conversation that way, of saying something really affirming about their relationship and nestling that with a barb, was just like, I mean, again, you're a 20-year-old young man, and you watch that happen, and you're studying theater, and all of a sudden it gives you permission to be like, oh wow, I can have both of those feelings. I can love somebody even though they're a pain in the ass. That was a liberating moment for me. I'm sure to people listening, or maybe even to you, it might seem like a small detail and sort of a grander scheme that was the play. But for that moment is laser printed on my soul. It's tattooed on my soul.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's so great. Like, this is the stuff we want to do on the podcast, because we all have these very special moments, which, if explained to others, are like just insignificant and innocuous. But to us, they are vivid, serious milestones in our development as an artist.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly.
But I do think that that's an amazing thing, because, to be quite honest, I feel that way as a male as well. I do feel that sense of desire to commit, but also the instinct to fly.
Yeah. And yeah, and just watching a man who was older than me just lay that all out without fear. And that's the big point that sort of wraps all this together, was watching him say that without any fear was defining to me as a
How do
young
you teach people to be fearless on stage again? Is this even harder than the last question about theater?
it's the same answer. You get comfortable being uncomfortable until finally, hopefully one day you get to a point where you don't think about feeling uncomfortable anymore. You just do it. You just do it. You just do it. Do less. Just do the thing. Do less. I often feel like in novice actors, I've talked about this with barbershoppers before. I'm going to take a sip of water, excuse me.
Doing less.
Novice actors and, barbershoppers who aren't career creatives, for example, they often, when emotionality is part of what is prescribed in a song or in a scene or whatever, they try to create that inside of themselves. Like, I have to be happy in this part of the song, or excuse me, you can edit that out.
No, we do no editing on these podcasts.
Okay, most excellent.
Burps and all.
If they have to be sad, they create sadness in them, like, oh, I've got to be sad. Or they create anger in them. Oh, I have to be angry. I have to show how angry I am. When, as humans, when we're on the street, we don't create anger. We just get angry. We don't create sadness. We just are sad. And the difference there is that all that stuff that makes us angry, that makes us sad, exists outside of our perception. Like, there is a target that exists outside of us that then creates that in us. We don't create it ourselves. And so part of the reason of letting go, or part of the process of letting go of fear as an actor or as a performer, is letting go of the need to create something in yourself that you think is going to convince the audience that you are sad. I've got some yard work happening. Can you hear it on your end?
I can't. No.
Oh, great.
I hear just fine. This subject is so... It's so real to me as somebody. I'm just thinking about this, how often I do not practice insecurity. And I'm thinking now, this whole time you've been speaking about this subject, it's just like, I need to build that into my life. I don't have enough. Yeah,
I mean, it's hard because why would you ever want to feel that way?
Because it lets you emote with the audience.
Yeah. That is what is going to build the bridge. That's what I think. And, and also what I think is not the be all end all.
Exactly, because David Mamet thinks that you're full of it.
Yeah, exactly. David Mamet thinks I'm full of it. David Mamet wants you to fail again, and then fail better. Which there's
Park and bark, baby. That's
Park and bark.
You just ring the chords really loud, hold the notes really long, and you win the contest.
And let's be real, we love that.
We do.
We love.
And I like David Mamet too.
Yeah. So, I know I talk about all these big ideas, but, my way is one way to the finish line. And there are a million ways to the finish line. And there are a million different types of artistic disciplines. And there are a million different kinds of artistic people. And no one way is the way. If anyone tries to let you know that their way is the only way, you need to stop listening to them. That's my grand advice.
That's good advice.
Yeah, we don't want we don't want people pushing that message on autistic people. You want to be availed to as many different types of artistic discipline as possible, and you want to keep the stuff that you like and then throw out the rest. That's what we really want.
I'm with you on that. 100%. Diversity.
Diversity.
Multiculturalism and cultural exchange.
That's the name of the game, man.
Good stuff.
That's what makes life worth living.
This is going to be a good class next year for you, dude. You're going to slam dunk this thing.
I just really want those kids to learn a lot, and I want them to be afraid of how smart I am.
Boom, bap.
Bam, there's my ego again. Uh-oh.
They're high school students, though. That's like ego central.
Yeah, they're 10th graders. They're nothing but ego.
So you got to kind of have to play ego at them sometimes, right?
Well, I'm just going to have to punish the ego out of them, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know how it works either.
I'm just going to give them...
I'm usually entertaining drunk adults around the piano.
Well, there we go. I'm just going to give them a lot of information, and they can take it or leave it, I guess.
Cool time to be alive, though, 16, 17.
Was 16, 17 a cool time to be alive?
Isn't that right? It's in junior year high school, 16, 17.
Oh, I thought you meant the date 16, 17. I was like, that's a weird date to be alive.
Oh, I don't really know too much about that exact date.
I don't know. I disliked being a 17-year-old.
Oh, okay.
I disliked it. But it was just because, well, I disliked it because, like I said before, I am a Scorpio lost in the sea of my own emotions.
I see.
And when I was 17, I did not have a developed vocabulary to deal with that type of thing. So I did not enjoy being a 17-year-old, deeply emotional, artistic person. But then I got to college and found my tribe and felt a lot better about it.
You had a cool tribe in college, didn't you? Tell me about the acapella days in college, bro.
You want to know about the acapella days in college?
Hell yeah.
Man alive.
Because David Rakita took me to a house party once in that tribe, and it was swinging, baby.
You went to a vocal house party?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, that's radical. So I was in the BFA acting program at USC, and I joined. Hold on, this gardener keeps getting closer and closer.
I can't hear it at all. I just hear your voice.
That's fantastic news. So I was in the BFA acting program at USC, and I auditioned for the SoCal Vocals, which was the name of the group, of which at the time David Rakita was a member. David Rakita, whom we all know as a oftentimes featured soloist in the Westminster Chorus, and lead section leader. I auditioned for that group and got into it, and we had a freaking ball, dude. I mean, you got to understand, when I was in college, so I would get up at 8 a.m, and I would be in class until like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I would have play rehearsal from like 6 o'clock in the afternoon till 10 o'clock at night. And then I would rush back to the old Victorian mansion where like 7 of the people in the SoCal Vocals were living, including myself, and then rehearse with them from 10 o'clock at night until midnight.
Cool life.
Yeah. So I was really burning the candle at both ends. But, you know, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, that's like the life, you know?
Totally.
I'm just in class reading scripts and doing scene work and doing really weird experiential voice technique stuff and, you know, clown and neutral mask and all these different types of theatrical disciplines, and then rehearsing a play and then singing songs at night and then going to bed. And we won the big boy contest. The ICCA is the title of the International Collegiate Acapella Contest. And we won it while I was in the group. Me and David won it together. And then in 2008, I think during a vocal rehearsal, Rakita approached me and said, hey, some of my friends in Orange County and I hook up on Sunday nights and we sing some songs and drink some beers. You want to come hang out? And I went, yeah, sure.
David has a very low key pitch. Not timbre and vocal pitch, but just like when he's getting an idea across, he's very low key, and it's
he underplays it, but it worked. I mean, he invited me to go, and that was my first rehearsal with the chorus in like 2008, I think, or 2000. It was whenever OC Times was still the section leaders. And Royce Ferguson was directing the chorus. And I did not know what I was signing up for. I thought I was going to hang out with some dudes and sing some songs and drink some beers, which is, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's exactly what we did.
And this is the South Rampart Street parade days or post South Rampart Street?
So my first rehearsal with that chorus was the first day we got the music to Their Hearts Were Full of Spring. So we were learning that song. So this was like the second run, I guess. And I remember Corey Hunt was the bass section leader. And I was like, why is this tiny man teaching me how to sing the bass part? And then he sang, and I was like, oh, that's why. And being
surprisingly resonant small person.
He's got a big old voice. A big old voice Corey Hunt has. And yeah, being around all these, it was really crazy, being in college and then, hanging out. And I didn't suffer. It's an interesting thing because I didn't suffer from like barbershop vision. Like I didn't know who OC Times was. And I didn't know kind of how important they were to the story of the society. And I had no idea how important Westminster Chorus's role. I didn't understand how important Westminster's role was.
Always a great place to step into an ensemble.
Yeah.
No context. Just
zero context.
Immediately present.
Yeah, and I was just like, wow, these guys are really good singers. And at that time there were a lot of people who were singing at Mount Sac or in other sort of collegiate groups around the Southern California area. I was thinking, wow, all these guys are really great singers and they're all really great musicians. How they remember, because this is an elder millennial thing to say, but this was before you had a tag app on your phone. Like now I feel like a lot of these younger barbershop singers, like these singers in their 20s, their late 20s, they just whip out their phone and take out the Good Tags app and they've got the sheet music right there. And that's how they sing. And I was lucky enough to be in a tradition where you learned those tags by ear. Someone sang all four parts and taught them and you sung them. Remember thinking, wow, I can't believe these guys like know all four parts to these like short songs. What the hell is a barbershop tag? Oh, this is really interesting. Yeah, sure. I'll have another beer.
So your life got even better is what you're describing, which is awesome. It's a beautiful time.
It was really cool. I was doing so much in college that I couldn't join the chorus full time just because I didn't have any time. I was busy doing the stuff that I love to do. But it ended up being a blessing because I was always so scared about not having a place to sing after college. Like that to me was a frightening prospect. After I graduate, I'm not going to have the vocals to sing at 3 times a week. Where am I going to go? And Westminster turned out to be the panacea for that. And then I joined full time in 2009, just in time. I didn't go to Choir of the World, but I joined full time right before the Choir of the World trip. So I learned all that music. and then made the contest run in 2010 with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we became barbershop friends forever and ever.
Barbershop friends forever.
Yeah, man.
Dude, this is such an interesting look into your life because it sounds like you were really just your life was on all 5,000 watts. Just like, dude, so rad. And this is a consistent point that Kari Francis made recently, where she is also pointing out how valuable barbershop choruses are to the post collegiate experience.
It's huge, man. It's freaking huge because, the collegiate a cappella experience is defining for a lot of young people. You know what I mean? Like when they look back on their time in college, like they're not really going to look back on their econ class, or they're not really going to look back on a foreign language, or they're not going to, but they'll remember when they were in the a cappella group, learning that music, getting ready for contest, like the camaraderie that existed amongst the people that you sang with, the people you got in a relationship with when you were singing with them, like it runs the gamut. Um, and so she's right. Like why the idea of sacrificing that, or giving up that thing once you're out there on your own, like to me that was a terrifying prospect, but it was one that I had to entertain because it was a distinct possibility. And once I discovered, oh, it doesn't have to be that way, I was just bought in 110% to what the chorus was doing.
Will, do you remember all those extra super intense rehearsals leading up to 2010?
Oh yeah, the Saturday rehearsals.
We had a slammed rehearsal schedule from like March, April, May of that year. We worked our butts off.
I will say that that stretch of the contest cycle feels a little bit like a blur because I was just out of school. So I was young and dumb, and you know, I was young and dumb, and the chorus, the people who were in charge had made the contest run many times before and knew what to expect. So I really felt like I was just along for the ride. I did not understand the import. I did not understand sort of the fun rivalry that we had with the vocal majority and that whole history. I didn't understand anything was going on. So we had these intense rehearsals, and I was just like, hey, man, I'm just showing up and singing the music. Like, I remember.
I guess this is kind of the magic of a chorus size ensemble. There's so much history because there's so many people involved in the company that it's okay to show up and be totally new to that experience, and it's still very rich. But you maybe just don't know it because we're paying so much attention to the work at hand.
The thing, yeah, exactly correct. Because there was a part of me that was just like, man, I just got to survive. I just got to make it to the end of this.
I was right there with you, dude. I was totally just the new on board in 2010 too. Just like, I just have to make this happen because I don't know if I'm even good enough to sing in this ensemble.
Yeah, 100%.
My thing.
Yeah, and just hoping it works out. But yeah, what I remember the most about that run is the retreat, is going up to Idlewild, and as the chorus does, and having like those 3 days of just nonstop rehearsal, and thinking once I got up to that space, I was really like, oh, this is real. Once I was at retreat, and who was it? I think Greg Line was there.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think it was one of the last time Dr. Greg Line was like standing in front of the chorus, and we were getting coached by Greg Line, and I just remember thinking, this dude's a genius. Like the way he was showing Justin how to conduct and the way he was relaying musical information to us was just like, I was 21 or 22 and I was just blown away. It's like, holy crap, this guy's unbeatable. The way he thinks about music. And I think, I forget what other coaches we had there, but I remember Dr. Greg Lyon coaching us, and I remember doing Mardi Gras March over and over and over and let's just getting in the reps, you know what I mean? And thinking, wow, the work ethic of this chorus is so high. Like we've done this, we did Mardi Gras March like 6 times in a row or something, and guys were ready to keep going. We were all sweating, but we were hungry. And yeah, I remember doing the hit on stage, singing both those songs in 2010, and walking off the stage. And I grabbed a couple guys, and we were backstage in the hall, and I just screamed out, "I want to do it again!"
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
I mean, the feeling of walking off that stage after we had laid it all out, that's one of the great feelings of my life.
Then there's the Clancy
and the feeling like the Clancy hug.
Remember?
Yeah, which to me, I didn't understand how meaningful that was. You know what I mean?
It was magical, that moment.
Yeah.
It was unreal.
In retrospect, it was unbelievable.
I think it was probably something like this. Tell me your remembrance, but this is mine. Sean York is like gathering people to come over and hear Justin being congratulated.
Mm-hmm.
And Clancy's there talking to him, and I think Sean's like, everyone should come over here and listen to this. And we all just like huddle around it and hug, listening. That's what I remember. Did that happen? Or am I like imagining things from a decade ago?
I think something like that did happen. Like it was sort of like, because again, this comes from the context of not understanding like the competition that exists between chorus at the time. But I do remember the feeling of watching a conversation happen and feeling like it was it felt like a rite of passage, if that makes sense. It felt like a growing up moment.
It did.
And I didn't understand what that meant exactly until talking about that right now. And I don't remember the specifics, but I remember that feeling of being like, wow, this is whatever is happening right now. It must be really important and really meaningful. Yeah. And then the other time I felt like that was when we did the hit in Salt Lake City. Was walking off that stage, and after we did From Now On medley, and just feeling like there's nothing more that I could have given in that moment.
That's always a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, that's the only, it's that those two moments were when I was really like, I was outside of my body, if that makes sense. Do you watch? I watched the video of us doing the Greatest Showman medley, and I cry every time.
Wow. Because
there's so much. Well, it's emotional because it's Justin's final contest with us. So, and we've been singing under his direction for, we watched him come of age. I think.
And to give some specific detail to that heading, I think that some of my favorite moments with the chorus, with Justin at the helm, have been watching other directors like Mark Hale and Greg Line work with Justin, because both of those gentlemen are so good at working specifically with Justin from my perspective on the Risers. They are so respectful and encouraging, and they just look like they communicate really, really well.
Yeah, and there's always the undercurrent of we want everybody to be the best that they can. And so there's no tricks or secrets, really. It's just everyone's sharing knowledge. I got the same way. Even Tony DeRosa giving Justin some pointers during the 2019 run about, maybe try moving like this or try this out. And then him throwing it against the wall and seeing what we do, and maybe it sticks and maybe it doesn't. But, you know, there's, we all want each other to be the most complete version of whatever it is we can do. The most complete Westminster, the most complete vocal majority, the most complete ambassadors, the most complete, the most complete, even in, and that trickles down to the most complete, small chapters that exist all around the country, where the stuff they're doing is just as valid and important as the stuff that we're doing.
You're right. It totally ripples out when you shine the light. When you let your light shine, you give others permission to do so.
Yeah, man. And that's, you know, I was, I'll say this. I was on a phone call with some barbershoppers maybe a week or two ago. I was on a Zoom call. And I was saying, and Derek, maybe you feel the same way. Our experience in barbershop is unique because we sing in Westminster. Um, and, I said to these people, I was like, to me, I feel the most successful in barbershop, in the society, in the chapter, in whatever, when we're making good music. When the music is really great and the artistry is there and everyone's locked in on the risers, and the wheels are greased and they're turning fast, and there's the ghost comes into the room when the music is that high level. That's when I feel like it's the most successful version of what barbershop can be. It's not necessarily going into contest. I, for one, don't believe the international convention should revolve around a contest. I think a contest should be part of a convention. But that's a hot take, I know. And when I gave this point of view about I'm the happiest when the music is at a really high level, I got some pushback saying, that's not a ubiquitous feeling amongst everybody in our organization. Because some people aren't in it to make good music. Some people are in it just for the camaraderie, and that's true. And that has a really important part in our cosmology as a singing organization. And I think the gift of really great music and the gift of really responsible music making ought to be available to everybody at any time. And I hope that gift gets in some form or another disseminated down wherever the vocabulary word is, gets trickled down to all those small chapters so that we can all have a commonality amongst, creating our history with excellent music and with excellent harmony. No matter what level you sing at. I think that's really important.
Wow, there's so much to unpack there. The joke that I would try to make would be to use the analogy of the light, because it seems like people these choral music, they just love this light metaphor. It's just so wonderful. They just can't get enough of these light metaphors. But to be real and to answer your question, maybe I feel this way in which perhaps the contest takes too much away from the convention, or it becomes a singular focus and it doesn't provide a lot of focus on making great music.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe my best answer to that would be something like, I often get called on a false dilemma logical fallacy, and it doesn't have to be an either or situation, and it doesn't have to be black and white. I have been reminded of this many times by teachers in my life. Yeah, there's the Gemini thing again, in my life. And I feel like, let's see, Mika had a nice way of saying this. He said, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. And so I feel like, to answer your question, we can have a great convention that has a great contest that has both an insight into making great music and a competition, because to really go for what a lot of people are wired for, competition is very important.
Yeah, you are correct, and it should be an important part of what we do. Yeah, I often have to remind myself that more than one thing can be true. Um, that yes, the contest is important and is a part of the get together, because competition has existed as long as humans have, at the very least. Um, and I look forward to the time when it's just a part of the convention. It's not the heart of the convention. Um, that will be I think that's when I'll have the most fun.
Cool.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm becoming introspective and emotional thinking
Well, I
about.
think to speak to that, I feel like we're both
Yeah.
feeling the fear about what's the future of barbershop in this moment. Am I getting that?
There's a little bit of fear, but I mean, look, I'll be really transparent about what I think, and I have to I have to qualify this by saying it's just what I think. I don't have any answers. These are just my feelings. But at some point, because you and I know so many incredible musicians that are barbershoppers, so many incredible artistic personalities, so many incredible educators. Um, I think at some point, I don't know when, but I think it happened since the year 2000, that we made an evolutionary change from being a social fraternal singing organization to being a musical organization. And I think that has perturbed some people, rightfully so, because community is important. And I think stepping into that new paradigm is part of the growth process. And so I'm a big believer in getting as many people in on this community of singers and friends as possible, which means having everybody in harmony. Everybody should be in on the secret. That's what I think. Derek.
I love it. That's what we're here to do. Podcasts, we're supposed to find out what people really think, because that's sort of the magic of the format. It's a long form, free flowing idea and emotional journey through two people just listening to each other and entertaining their thoughts, and those two people just happen to be barbershop nerds. Mm-hmm. And we are. And
we definitely are, yes.
I really do look forward to the future of this thing, and you're going to be there, and that's going to be wonderful, because you have so much to offer, my friend, and it's been a joy to speak with you on this podcast. And I know we're going to do it again, because
oh yeah,
we have to. And
we could talk for days, you and I.
Exactly, because we can talk for days. I want to get a little bit of satisfying for the good of the chapter towards the end of this. I do want to speak a little bit more specifically to the chapter's goals, if I might.
Sure.
So there's two. One is for our listeners. Will wrote the Christmas show, the Westminster Saves Christmas sequel that we produced last year during the pandemic, and I, for one, thought it was a great success. You did wonderfully, Will.
I thought it was a great. I was surprised at how much of a success it was.
It was hilarious. I had a premiere in my garage. and we watched it up here in Santa Rosa, and it was really fun. We laughed, and it was so entertaining. And I just really enjoy the multifaceted nature of your artistry, sir. It is the writing was wonderful and funny, and to check some more boxes for the good of the chapter sort of deal, you are also producing the script for the next Christmas show. Is that right?
Well, for the next, you mean the summer show?
Oh yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. So this summer show that's coming out in a few weeks, you made that one too.
Yeah,
Tell us about it, please, Mister.
Sure. So for those of you who are lucky enough to join the International Virtual Barbershop Convention, you will be privy on the Saturday Night Spectacular to watch the premiere of Westminster's summer show. You know, Westminster always does a chapter show in June, like summertime. And, you know, it's been so long since we've all been together, and, you know, we got so much great music that we were going to perform in 2019, or excuse me, in 2020 in LA for our Swan set that we never got a chance to. So we had all this really cool music lined up, which we didn't get a chance to perform. The virtual Christmas show ended up being so successful and really a point of pride for the chapter that we've created like a 45-minute or around there virtual summer program that includes Westminster Chorus, includes After Hours as a guest quartet, includes Hot Pursuit as a guest quartet, includes the Newfangled Four as a guest quartet. And all of us who are involved are premiering brand new music. Every piece of music on that show is a premiere song, which is great. And it's also got Westminster's very own brand of weird comedy that I wrote, which I hope is very funny. But it's funny to me at least. So we'll see if other people think it's funny. And then we also have we're premiering a very special mixed chorus song, which some barbershoppers have very generously donated their time and talents to create something really special. So tune in for that. If you missed the international, I'm sure it'll be up on the YouTubes at some point for your eyes to perceive it visually and your ears to perceive it aurally.
Way to go. Way to throw on the marketing hat, Will. Love it. And that was just a warm-up pitch for this last question before we really wrap it up. Are you ready?
Okay.
What are we looking for in the next director of the Westminster Chorus?
Big
shoes to fill.
Wow, what a question. Yeah, big shoes to fill. So I think we all made a decision that we can't be looking for another Justin. Justin is such a unique artistic force of nature. And, you know, he was with the chapter for such a long time that, you know, it's sort of a futile exercise to try to find the next Justin. So we've released a lot of expectations.
So we just cloned Justin and found a way to rewind their clocks so they're 10 years younger.
Oh, yeah. What we've done is we've put a clone of Justin in a nutrient vat, sci-fi style. No. So, you know, we've been talking with some choral personalities around the Southern California area, some people who run some really cool choir programs at some universities and colleges. We've talked to some barbershop personalities out of state who have expressed interest in directing the chorus and perhaps relocating. And there are some people even from within the chapter who feel like they have the gumption and the wherewithal and the artistic responsibility to step up to the plate and lead the chorus into a new future, all of which are very exciting and very inspiring to be available. The pandemic did derail our plans of finding someone in a more timely manner. So luckily, Zoom rehearsals have allowed Justin to direct us in the meantime. But we all must be real with ourselves that having Justin at the helm is coming to an end and ought to come to an end sooner rather than later, because that man has a life that he is trying to build in a new state. And it would make it easier for him to do that if he were not buoyed to us, if he didn't want to be there. 100.
And it's beautiful for his journey too, because now he gets to arrange for the ensemble.
He gets
not be able to wave the hands, which will be a journey for him.
He gets to compose new music for us, which I'm so excited to have a new relationship with Justin Miller, the composer, because we've gotten a peek at the music that comes out of his head, and that music is really incredible.
And some of it will premiere on the summer show.
Yes, there is a Justin Miller original choral piece that will premiere on the summer show, which is very great. So yeah, it's definitely, it's funny because I often think about Westminster and the society are both mirroring walking into a new paradigm. Westminster evolving into a culture and an ensemble history that exists without a lot of our barbershop personalities that have been there for 10, 12, 15 years. And, the society moving into a place where, there is everybody in harmony and anyone can sing, and hopefully evolving into a place where there is a single contest with a single grand champion that we can crown and look up to throughout the entire year. So, we're all going through the stages of change, and we are all evolving through that. And I am very excited to see what is on the other side.
Well, with that beautiful answer, I think we should wrap up this with the thing I like to do at the end of the podcast, which is to pick a tag that you and I will sing when we are back together at Westminster rehearsal next month.
Oh, because we're getting together in July, end of July. I'm so excited. I have to tell you, Derek, I just got back from getting on this cross-country barbershop road trip.
Yeah. Tell me about the road trip.
Man, I think I sang every tag ever written. We sang so much stuff, and after a year and a half of not making music, it was so great. It's like getting back on a bike. I know everyone's really worried about dusting off the old vocal cords and getting back in the game again, but
especially Quorum.
Especially Midtown.
Especially Midtown.
But it's all gonna come roaring back, man. And I was so happy ringing chords and laughing with our friends from all over the nation. It was such a treat. When we are together in July, do you want to sing like a Westminster chapter tag, or should we learn something new? Yeah.
Your tag, your choice.
Man.
All good.
So many good ones. I think I want to sing. Oh man, there's so many tags. So bad at calling out tags. I think I love the tags that's just like straightforward dominant 7 barbershop harmony.
Orally.
Orally is fantastic. We should sing the Chiefs of Staff tag.
Okay.
You know what we should do? We should say, no, here's what we're actually going to do, Derek. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Start listening to Keepsake.
Okay.
Because we're just going to sing a Keepsake record track to track.
Keepsake's the Entertainer? I can do it.
Let's do Keepsake's the Entertainer. We'll start at track 1 and we'll sing every song until we get to the end. And we'll skip the ones that we truly don't know. But
I can do that. No, I know them all. I did this once. My iPod died in college. I had my friend Barry Knott from the Northwest Sound lend me the copy of The Entertainer.
Oh my God.
I made it into an MP3. I put it on my iPod. I listened to it religiously about 10,000 times. And then one time it died on my bus ride all the way back to the loft in Pioneer Square. And I remembered the entire thing.
Oh, dude, we're doing it. I can sing.
We can do it.
I can sing all those bass parts. We're in. We're gonna have a sing-a-thon.
This is on. Keepsake's the Entertainer. We're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it. It's some songs will be great and some songs will be not so great, and it's not gonna matter.
We'll keep a piano right next to us for rekeying.
Excellent.
So
Yes.
that'll be as far as we'll go, right?
Yes. That'll be it.
Nice. I love it. Will, thank you very much for coming on the Harmony Ball podcast.
Thank you, Derek. I love you, man. Thanks for doing this.
I'd like to thank my guest, Will Logus, and thank you for listening to episode 12 of the Harmony Ball podcast. This is the last episode in the season. We will be back with season 2. Until then, happy trails. This is Derek Wayne saying, keep the dream alive. And I'll see you next month at rehearsal.
See you next month, bud.
Okay, bye.
Bye.